Welcome to using logic models as a tool for planning and evaluating efforts. You may want to take a moment during this introduction to adjust the volume on your computer so that you can hear the audio clearly. If you need to stop and return later, you may continue from where you stopped or review the entire presentation again. If you would like to take notes, you may also want to print a copy which is accessible from the same website as this presentation. This presentation will introduce you to logic models, a useful tool in showing the alignment of district efforts to the system's goals and vision, enhancing the connection between strategies and outcomes, and communicating clearly the intent of programs. Program monitoring and evaluation requires a clear vision of the need addressed, the outcomes desired, and the relationship of the strategies to the short-term, intermediate, and long-term outcomes. This training describes a graphic organizing technique that can be used to display the connections between goals, strategies, and outcomes. This self-paced presentation is divided into 3 lessons. The first lesson introduces you to logic models. The second lesson describes the components of a logic model. And the third lesson provides examples for you to follow. After viewing these 3 lessons, you should understand the utility of logic models to clarify and display the connections between needs, strategies, outcomes, and goals, and be able to create a logic model for a program or initiative. Basically, a logic model is a graphic organizing technique that depicts the order and connections between the need, the strategies and resources, and the short-term, intermediate, and long-term outcomes that you have identified. Evaluating efforts aligns to total quality and continuous improvement. When efforts are well evaluated, reflected on, planned, and implemented, better results are more likely. It is difficult to study the impact of an effort that is not well planned or implemented. If you do not know where you're going, how do you know when you get there? While logic models are a useful tool throughout the continuous improvement cycle, they can be particularly valuable as a planning tool. Prior to beginning your logic model, it is helpful to determine the area of need. In other words, what problem are you attempting to address? What data supports the need? At this stage, it is helpful to conduct a needs assessment. Check available data and prioritize your needs. Next, you'll want to determine your short, intermediate, and long-term goals. Quality tools such as the 5 whys and the bone diagram may be utilized to determine desired outcomes. The 5 whys is simply a technique whereby you continue to ask the question why until you uncover your true need and desired outcome. For example, if you decide your need is to conduct training, ask why. You might say, teachers don't know how to implement an intervention. Then ask, why is that important? You might answer because 30% of your students are not doing well in reading based on EOG results. Then ask, why is that important? You might say because your school is not doing well as the system overall. Then ask, why is that important? You might say because students are less likely to graduate on time, the system goal, if they do not meet grade level standards. So by asking why 4 times, we were able to determine the true need was that 30% of students at the school did not meet grade level standards, and the desired outcome was that students meet these standards in order to make it more likely that they would graduate on time, our long-term goal. The bone diagram visually depicts your current situation, which generally reflects your needs, and your future direction, reflecting your desired outcome, along with elements that promote or restrict you from your desired goal. It is a great brainstorming quality tool. Knowing what will drive positive change and what resistors exist can help you create better strategies. The next step is to consider what resources are available, i.e. time, dollars, facilities, and staff capacity. Are other resources feasible to secure? For example, grants? Once you have identified your need, desired outcomes, and resources, You will want to identify your main strategies as well as specific activities within each strategy. Next, you will create a logical sequence of events and outcomes. Once you have determined the sequence and connection between the need, strategies, and outcomes, you will use a logic model to organize and display this information. Be sure short-term outcomes include changes in knowledge, skills, and behavior of those who are implementing the strategy. Remember to include process checks along the way, either as short or intermediate outcomes. Then check connections. Add arrows to indicate relationships between strategies, activities, and outcomes. Finally, discuss your draft model with other stakeholders and revise as needed. Usually you'll want to revise at least once. Now that you have a general understanding of this planning tool, Lesson 2 will describe each component of a logic model in greater detail, and Lesson 3 will walk you through examples to help you create a logic model for your program or initiative.